The sound of splintering wood jolted Kevin Nash from a deep sleep. Heart racing, he stumbled from his bed, his mind immediately darting to his 5-year-old daughter sleeping down the hall. Adrenaline coursed through his veins as he grabbed the baseball bat he kept by his bedroom door and crept toward Lily's room. The shattered glass on the living room floor caught the moonlight as he passed, but nothing mattered except his little girl. Daddy. Lily's sleepy voice came from her darkened doorway. I heard a scary noise. Kevin knelt down, keeping his voice low and calm despite the fear gripping him. It's okay, sweetheart. Just stay in your room while Daddy checks things out. Can you do that for me? She nodded, her blonde curls bouncing slightly, clutching her stuffed elephant to her chest. He guided her back into her room, tucking her in quickly before closing the door. Kevin moved cautiously through their small apartment, checking each room until he reached the front door. The lock was broken, the door frame splintered around it. Someone had tried to break in but must have been scared off maybe by a passing car or a neighbor. The cool night air rushed through the damaged entryway, and Kevin ran his hands through his dark hair in frustration. This apartment complex wasn't in the best part of town, but it was all he could afford on a construction worker's salary, especially since becoming Lily's sole guardian after his ex-wife had abandoned them 3 years ago. Every penny went toward giving his daughter a stable life, which meant luxury repairs weren't in the budget. After a thorough search confirmed no one was in the apartment, Kevin propped a chair against the damaged door and called the police. They arrived 30 minutes later, took his statement, and promised to increase patrols in the area. You'll want to get that door fixed right away, Officer Mills said, handing Kevin a case number for the report. I know, Kevin replied, not mentioning that the cost would mean dipping into Lily's school fund. After the police left, Kevin checked on Lily, who had fallen back asleep clutching her elephant. He kissed her forehead gently, then returned to the living room to survey the damage. There was no way he could leave the door like this, but replacing it properly would cost hundreds he didn't have. Kevin glanced at his watch, 3:22 a.m. He had to be at the construction site by 7 o'clock. With a sigh, he gathered some tools and began a temporary repair, knowing he'd need to find a better solution soon. As he worked, his mind raced with worries about money, Lily's safety, and how he'd manage to fix yet another unexpected problem. By sunrise, Kevin had patched the door well enough to keep it closed, though it was far from secure. He made a quick breakfast for Lily, packed her lunch, and drove her to her friend Zoe's house, where Zoe's mother watched her during workdays. The door looks funny, Daddy, Lily observed as they left the apartment. I know, honey, Daddy will fix it properly soon. Promise? Her big brown eyes, so like his own, gazed up at him trustingly. I promise, he said, ruffling her hair. Have a great day with Zoe, I'll pick you up after work. At the construction site, Kevin mentioned the break-in to his foreman, Mike. That's rough, man, Mike said, adjusting his hard hat. We've got some spare lumber from the Harrison project, not the fancy stuff, but solid. It's yours if you want it. That would be a huge help, Kevin said gratefully. During lunch break, Kevin called around to price new doors, his heart sinking at each quote. As he was about to head back to work, his phone rang. It was Mrs. Chen, the elderly property manager of his building. Mr. Nash, I heard about the break-in. Are you and Lily okay? Her concerned voice crackled through the phone. We're fine, just shaken up. I've made a temporary repair, but I'll need to replace the door. I've called a few other tenants. Another apartment on the 3rd floor had an attempted break-in too. She paused. The owner is sending a security company to assess the building tomorrow. In the meantime, there's a vacant unit on the 5th floor you and your daughter can use until your door is properly repaired. Kevin thanked her profusely. The temporary arrangement would give him time to figure out a more permanent solution. After his shift ended, Kevin collected the lumber Mike had promised, picked up Lily, and they stopped by a hardware store where Kevin used some of his carefully saved emergency fund to buy door hinges and a new lock. What are we doing, Daddy? Lily asked as they entered their apartment building, Kevin struggling with the lumber and his toolbox. We're going to stay in another apartment for a few days while I fix our door. Mrs. Chen said we could, like camping, Lily's eyes lit up with excitement. Kevin chuckled. Sort of, but indoors. As they reached their floor, Kevin noticed a woman standing outside the apartment next to theirs, 5B. He'd seen her a few times in passing, but had never spoken to her. She was trying to insert her key into a lock that appeared to be jammed, frustration evident on her face. "Excuse me," Kevin said, setting down his materials. "Are you having trouble with your lock?" The woman turned, startled. She had shoulder-length auburn hair and striking green eyes that widened slightly when she saw Kevin. She wore a simple white blouse and jeans, but there was something elegant about her that made Kevin suddenly aware of his work-stained clothes and the sawdust in his hair. "Yes," she admitted, a hint of embarrassment in her voice. "I just moved in last week, and this lock seems to have a mind of its own. I can take a look if you'd like," Kevin offered. "I'm Kevin Nash from 5A. This is my daughter, Lily." "Hi," Lily waved enthusiastically. "Your hair is pretty," the woman smiled warmly at Lily. "Thank you." "I'm Hannah Summers, and I'd appreciate the help if it's not too much trouble." Kevin examined the lock. "It's just stuck. These older buildings sometimes have humidity issues that affect the mechanisms." He took a small tool from his pocket, worked it gently into the lock, and with a satisfying click it turned. "You're a lifesaver," Hannah said with genuine relief. "I was about to call a locksmith. Daddy can fix anything," Lily declared proudly. Hannah smiled at Lily, then glanced at the lumber Kevin had set aside. "Are you working on a project?" Kevin briefly explained about the break-in and his temporary move to the vacant apartment while he repaired their door. Hannah's expression grew concerned. "That's terrible." "Were either of you hurt?" "No, we're fine. Just a broken door," Kevin assured her. "I heard about a couple of break-ins in the building. It's why I got an additional deadbolt installed yesterday." Hannah glanced at his materials. "Do you need any help with your door?" "I'm not very handy, but I can hold things or make coffee." Kevin was about to politely decline when Lily chimed in. "Daddy loves coffee. He says it's what keeps the monsters away in the morning." Both adults laughed, breaking the tension. "Coffee would be great, actually," Kevin admitted. "But maybe tomorrow. Tonight we need to get settled in the temporary apartment." "Of course," Hannah replied. 5B is always open if you need anything, for coffee or whatever." As they parted ways, Kevin found himself looking forward to tomorrow more than he had in a long time. The next morning, Kevin dropped Lily at school earlier than usual so he could work on the door before heading to his construction job. To his surprise, Hannah was already in the hallway when he arrived, 2 travel mugs in hand. "I heard you leaving your apartment," she explained. "I'm an early riser too, thought you might need this." She handed him one of the mugs. "You didn't have to do that," Kevin said, touched by the gesture. "Consider it thanks for the lock help." Hannah watched as he set up his tools. "That looks like a serious project." "The door frame is completely splintered. I'll need to rebuild it before I can hang the new door," Kevin explained, taking a sip of the coffee, which was possibly the best he'd ever tasted. "This is amazing coffee," he commented. Hannah smiled. "My one extravagance. I import the beans from a small farm in Colombia." For the next hour, Hannah sat on the stairs watching as Kevin worked, asking occasional questions about what he was doing. Kevin found himself enjoying her company. It had been a long time since he'd had an adult conversation that wasn't about work or Lily's school. "So, what do you do for work?" Kevin asked as he measured a piece of lumber. "I'm in finance," Hannah replied vaguely. "Investment management, mostly." "Sounds complicated." "It can be. What about you?" "Besides being a master door fixer," Kevin chuckled. "I work construction, currently on a commercial project downtown." "That explains the skills," Hannah nodded toward his handiwork. "You're good at this." Kevin shrugged, a little embarrassed by the compliment. "Just experience. My dad was a carpenter. He taught me everything I know." By the time Kevin needed to leave for work, he'd made significant progress on the door frame. "I should finish this tonight," he told Hannah as he packed up his tools. "Let me know if you need anything," she offered. "I work from home most days." That evening, after picking up Lily from school, Kevin returned to continue working on the door. To his surprise, Hannah was there again, this time with a small folding table set up in the hallway with sandwiches and juice boxes. "I thought you both might be hungry," she explained when she saw Kevin's surprised expression. Lily immediately ran to inspect the food. "Look, Daddy. Turkey sandwich is my favorite. How did you know?" Kevin asked, genuinely puzzled. Hannah shrugged. "Lucky guess. Most kids like turkey, right?" As they ate, Lily regaled Hannah with stories about her day at school, particularly about the class pet, a hamster named Mr. Whiskers. Hannah listened with genuine interest, asking questions and laughing at Lily's animated descriptions. Kevin watched the interaction, a warm feeling spreading in his chest. It had been a long time since someone besides him had shown such interest in Lily's world. Since her mother left, claiming she wasn't cut out for motherhood, Kevin had been cautious about letting new people into their lives. But watching Hannah with Lily, he felt something shift inside him. With renewed energy after the meal, Kevin resumed work on the door while Hannah helped Lily with a coloring book she'd brought along. The domestic scene felt strangely natural, as if they'd known each other for years rather than days. By 8 o'clock, the new door was hung, complete with both the original lock and a new deadbolt Kevin had installed. "It looks perfect," Hannah said, admiring his work. "You could do this professionally." "Just a side gig," Kevin replied, though he felt proud of the result. "I appreciate the company and the food. You didn't have to do that." "I enjoyed it," Hannah said sincerely. "It gets lonely in my apartment sometimes. I'm still getting used to living alone." There was something in her tone that made Kevin curious, but Lily was yawning, signaling it was past her bedtime. They said their goodbyes, with Lily insisting on giving Hannah a hug. "Can Hannah come over tomorrow?" Lily asked as Kevin tucked her into bed in their regular apartment, now secure with its new door. "We don't want to bother her too much, sweetheart. She probably has work and other things to do. But she likes us, Daddy, I can tell." "Oh, and how can you tell that?" "Because she smiles with her eyes when she looks at you. Like Princess Jasmine looks at Aladdin in my book." Kevin chuckled, brushing a strand of hair from his daughter's forehead. "That's very observant of you. Now go to sleep, princess." As he left Lily's room, Kevin found himself thinking about Hannah's smile and wondering if his daughter might be more perceptive than he gave her credit for. The next morning, Kevin left a thank-you note under Hannah's door before taking Lily to school. He didn't expect to see Hannah again so soon, but fate had other plans. That evening, as Kevin was preparing dinner, a knock came at their newly repaired door. When he opened it, Hannah stood there looking slightly anxious. "Hi," she said. "I hate to bother you, but remember how you fixed my lock?" "Well, now my kitchen sink is leaking and the super isn't answering his phone. I tried calling a plumber, but they can't come until tomorrow, and the water is going everywhere, and let me grab my tools," Kevin interrupted with a smile. "You're a lifesaver," Hannah sighed with relief. "Daddy's a superhero," Lily declared, appearing beside him. "His powers are fixing things and making mac and cheese," Hannah laughed. "In that case, would the superhero and his sidekick like to have dinner at my place after fixing my sink, as a thank you?" "We were just about to make dinner here," Kevin began. "Please, Daddy," Lily pleaded. "I want to see Hannah's house." Kevin couldn't resist his daughter's excitement. "All right, but only if we're not imposing." "Not at all," Hannah assured him. "It'll be nice to have company." Hannah's apartment had the same layout as Kevin's, but the similarities ended there. While Kevin's place was functional and tidy, with second-hand furniture and Lily's artwork decorating the walls, Hannah's apartment was elegantly furnished with tasteful, obviously expensive pieces. Original artwork hung on the walls, and the kitchen featured high-end appliances. Kevin tried not to appear impressed as he focused on the leaking sink. "It's just a loose connection," he explained, tightening the pipes under the sink. "Should be fine now, but you might want to have the super check the other connections soon." "Thank you so much," Hannah said, handing him a towel to wipe his hands. "Your house is so pretty," Lily exclaimed, examining a glass sculpture on the coffee table. "Is this real crystal?" "Lily," Kevin gently admonished, "remember not to touch things in other people's homes." "It's all right," Hannah assured him. "And yes, Lily, it is crystal. It was a gift from a client." She knelt to Lily's level. "Would you like to see something special?" "I have a collection of miniature glass animals in my office." Lily's eyes widened with excitement as Hannah led her to a small room off the living area. Kevin followed, his curiosity piqued. The office was tastefully decorated with a sleek desk, state-of-the-art computer setup, and bookshelves filled with financial texts and economic journals. On one shelf stood a collection of exquisite glass figurines, tiny elephants, lions, birds, and dolphins, each one catching the light. "They're beautiful," Kevin said, genuinely impressed. "I started collecting them in college," Hannah explained. "Whenever I accomplished something important, I'd buy one as a small celebration." "You must have done a lot of important things," Lily observed, counting the figurines. Hannah smiled. "Some more important than others." Kevin noticed several framed certificates on the wall: a bachelor's degree in economics from Princeton, an MBA from Stanford, and various financial certifications he didn't understand. He was beginning to realize that Hannah's "I work in finance" was quite an understatement. As they moved to the kitchen, Kevin watched as Hannah expertly prepared a pasta dish, moving with confidence around her high-end kitchen. Despite the obvious differences in their lifestyles, Hannah put him at ease with her down-to-earth conversation and genuine interest in his work and Lily's school adventures. During dinner, Kevin learned that Hannah had recently moved to the building after separating from her long-term boyfriend. "He wanted the house in the divorce settlement and I wanted a fresh start," she explained. "This building is close to my office, so it made sense." "Divorce?" Kevin asked. "I didn't realize you were married." "We weren't, technically," Hannah clarified. "But we were together for 8 years and jointly owned the house, so the legal process felt like a divorce." She smiled sadly. "Turns out he was more interested in my family connections than in me." "I'm sorry to hear that," Kevin said sincerely. Hannah shrugged. "It's for the best." "He never really understood me." She quickly changed the subject. "How long have you lived in the building?" "Almost 4 years now," Kevin replied. "After Lily's mom left, we needed a more affordable place." "It's just been me and Daddy forever," Lily added, twirling pasta on her fork. "But that's okay because Daddy does everything, except braid hair. He's really bad at that." Both adults laughed, and Kevin felt a wave of gratitude when Hannah didn't press for more details about Lily's mother. It was still a painful subject, even after all this time. As the evening wound down, Lily began to yawn, and Kevin knew it was time to head back to their apartment. "This was wonderful," he told Hannah at the door. "Thank you for dinner." "Thank you for saving my kitchen from flooding," she replied. "We make a good team. You fix things and I feed people. Can we do it again sometime?" Lily asked sleepily from Kevin's arms. Hannah smiled. "I'd like that very much." Over the next few weeks, a pattern developed. Hannah would often join them for dinner at their apartment, bringing dessert or a bottle of wine. Kevin would help her with small repairs around her place, hanging pictures, fixing a sticky window, installing a ceiling fan. They discovered shared interests in hiking and old movies, and Hannah introduced Kevin to her favorite books while he taught her basic carpentry skills. Kevin found himself looking forward to their time together, even as a voice in his head warned him about getting too close. Hannah clearly came from a different world than his. The hints were everywhere: her expensive clothes, her casual mentions of business trips to London or Tokyo, the way she never seemed concerned about prices when they shopped together for groceries or supplies for Lily's school projects. One Saturday morning, about a month after they'd met, Kevin and Lily were preparing for their weekly trip to the park when Hannah knocked on their door. "I was wondering if you two had plans today," she asked, looking uncharacteristically nervous. "Just the park," Kevin replied. "Lily likes to feed the ducks on Saturdays. Would you mind if I joined you? I've never fed ducks before," Lily gasped in shock. "Never, not even when you were little," Hannah shook her head. "My parents weren't really the park type. We had a different kind of childhood." "Then you absolutely have to come," Lily declared, grabbing Hannah's hand. "Right, Daddy, absolutely," Kevin agreed, enjoying the way Hannah's face lit up at the invitation. At the park, Kevin watched as Hannah and Lily tossed bread to the eager ducks, both laughing as the birds waddled and quacked around them. There was something about Hannah that transformed when she was with Lily, a lightness that made her seem younger, less guarded. It was as if Lily helped her access a part of childhood she'd missed. Later, as Lily played on the swings, Kevin and Hannah sat on a nearby bench enjoying the warm spring day. "Thank you for including me today," Hannah said softly. This is nice. Haven't you been to parks before? Kevin asked, curious about her earlier comment. Hannah shrugged. Not like this. My father believed unstructured play was a waste of time. Weekends were for additional tutoring or attending appropriate cultural events. She smiled wryly. I was playing the violin and studying Latin while other kids were feeding ducks. That sounds intense. It was my normal. The Summers family has certain expectations. She gazed at Lily on the swings. She's lucky to have you. You're an amazing father. I'm doing my best, Kevin replied. Sometimes I worry it's not enough. There's so much I can't give her. Hannah turned to face him. You give her what matters most, your time, your attention, your unconditional love. Trust me, all the privileges in the world can't replace that. There was something in her voice that made Kevin reach out and take her hand. She looked surprised but didn't pull away. They sat like that, holding hands in comfortable silence, watching Lily play until she ran back to them, demanding they all get ice cream. As they walked to the ice cream stand, Lily between them holding both their hands, Kevin felt a sense of rightness that both thrilled and terrified him. He was falling for Hannah, despite all the reasons he shouldn't. That evening, after Lily was asleep, Kevin sat on his small balcony, thinking about Hannah and the growing feelings he couldn't ignore. His phone buzzed with a text from her. Still awake? Yes, he replied. A moment later, another message came through. Look up. Kevin raised his eyes to see Hannah on her balcony, directly above his, smiling down at him. She held up a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. Nightcap. Minutes later, they were sitting side by side on Hannah's more spacious balcony, the city lights twinkling below them. Today was perfect, Hannah said, sipping her wine. Thank you for sharing your Saturday tradition with me. Lily adores you, Kevin replied. She's never taken to anyone so quickly. The feeling is mutual. She's an incredible kid. Hannah paused. You've done an amazing job raising her on your own, Kevin shrugged. You do what you have to do for your kids. Not everyone does, Hannah said quietly. My parents provided everything except what I actually needed. They were too busy building the Summers financial empire to notice I was drowning in their expectations. The Summers financial empire, Kevin repeated, his curiosity piqued. Hannah looked away as if she'd said too much. My family's business. Investment banking mainly, nothing exciting. So when you say you work in finance, I mean I work for the family firm, she confirmed. Summers Wealth Management. I'm actually the CFO, though I've been working remotely since moving here. Kevin whistled. CFO, that's impressive. It's just a job, Hannah said, though her tone suggested it was anything but. What about your parents? Are they nearby? My dad passed away 5 years ago, cancer. My mom lives in Florida with her second husband. We talk weekly and she visits a few times a year. I'm sorry about your dad. You mentioned he taught you carpentry. Kevin nodded, smiling at the memories. He could build anything, had his own small construction company. I worked with him all through high school and planned to take over the business someday, but the recession hit hard. He had to sell, and I've been working for other companies since. Have you ever thought about starting your own business? Hannah asked. Sometimes, Kevin admitted. I'd love to have my own custom furniture shop. My dad always said I had a gift for fine woodworking. He laughed self-deprecatingly. But dreams like that require capital I don't have. Hannah looked thoughtful but didn't press the issue. Instead, she asked, would you show me something you've made, if you have anything here? Kevin hesitated, then nodded. I have a few pieces, come over tomorrow. When Lily's at her friend's birthday party, Hannah's smile made his heart race. I'd love that. The next afternoon, Hannah stood in Kevin's living room, admiring a handcrafted bookshelf with intricate carving along its edges. This is museum quality, she breathed, running her fingers along the smooth wood. You made this, Kevin nodded, pleased by her reaction. It was my first major piece. I made it for Lily when she was born. Hannah moved to examine a small jewelry box on the side table, its lid inlaid with a complex geometric pattern of different wood types. And this, for Lily's 3rd birthday. She keeps her treasures in it, mostly rocks and bottle caps she finds interesting. Hannah opened the box carefully, revealing the velvet-lined interior. This is incredible craftsmanship, Kevin. You could sell pieces like this for thousands. Kevin laughed. Maybe in some fancy gallery in another city. Around here, I'm lucky if I can get a few hundred for custom work. You're undervaluing your talent, Hannah said seriously. Have you ever tried marketing to a higher-end clientele? Not really my world, Kevin admitted. I wouldn't know where to start. Hannah's eyes lit up. But I would. My firm represents several gallery owners and interior designers who are always looking for unique pieces for their clients. She hesitated. Would you be interested in making some connections? No pressure, just introductions. Kevin was taken aback by the offer. You do that for me. Hannah's expression softened. Of course I would. Your work deserves to be seen and appreciated. Their eyes met, and in that moment the air between them seemed charged with possibility. Kevin took a step toward her, his heart pounding. Hannah didn't move away. Hannah, he began, but was interrupted by his phone ringing. It was Mrs. Wilson, calling to let him know Lily's party had ended early because one of the children had gotten sick. The moment broken, Kevin arranged to pick up Lily while Hannah gathered her things to leave. At the door, she paused. Think about what I said about the introductions. No strings attached, I promise. She smiled. And maybe we could have dinner this week. Just the two of us, Kevin nodded, trying to ignore the flutter in his chest at the thought of a proper date with Hannah. I'd like that. The following Friday evening, Kevin dropped Lily off at his friend Mike's house for a sleepover with Mike's daughter, then returned home to get ready for his dinner with Hannah. He was more nervous than he cared to admit, changing his shirt 3 times before settling on a navy button-down that Lily had once declared made him look handsome like a prince. They had agreed to meet at a restaurant downtown Hannah's suggestion, as she knew the owner. When Kevin arrived, he immediately felt out of place. The restaurant was clearly high-end, with elegant decor and well-dressed patrons. He silently thanked Hannah for suggesting it, as he would never have chosen such a place himself. Hannah was already at the table when he arrived, wearing a simple black dress that made his breath catch. She stood to greet him, kissing him lightly on the cheek. You look beautiful, he said honestly. So do you, she replied with a smile. I'm glad you agreed to this. The meal was extraordinary, with dishes Kevin had never tried before and wine that Hannah selected with casual expertise. They talked easily, as they always did, about everything from Lily's latest school project to Hannah's recent business trip to Chicago. I've been thinking about your woodworking, Hannah said as they shared a dessert. If you're serious about pursuing it, I have a friend who owns a gallery in the arts district. She's always looking for new artisans to feature. I don't know, Kevin said hesitantly. I only have a few pieces and my tools are pretty basic. Start small, Hannah suggested. Make a few more pieces when you have time. If Paula likes them and I know she will, she can feature them in her gallery. No pressure, no timeline. Kevin was touched by her confidence in his abilities. Why are you doing this for me? Hannah's expression grew serious. Because I believe in you, Kevin. You have extraordinary talent that deserves recognition. She paused. And because you've shown me what real life can be like. Real life. Life outside the Summers bubble, she explained. You and Lily have reminded me what actually matters. It's not the deals or the portfolios or impressing my father's business associates. It's this, connections, caring about people who care about you back. Kevin reached across the table to take her hand. I do care about you, Hannah, a lot. I care about you too, she said softly, more than I expected to. After dinner, they walked along the riverfront, the city lights reflecting on the water. Without discussing it, they held hands, fingers intertwined comfortably. Can I ask you something? Kevin said after a while. How rich are you exactly? Hannah laughed, the sound clear in the night air. Why does it matter? I'm just trying to understand your world, Kevin replied honestly. You live in my apartment building, but you're clearly not struggling financially. It doesn't add up. Hannah sighed, stopping to lean against the railing overlooking the water. The truth, I needed to escape. After things ended with Richard, my ex, I wanted to live somewhere no one would think to look for me, somewhere normal. And a middle-income apartment building fit the bill, exactly. No doorman, no concierge, no society friends dropping by unannounced. She looked out at the water. I needed space to figure out who I am outside of being a Summers. And who is that? Hannah turned to face him, her expression vulnerable. I'm still figuring that out. But I like who I am when I'm with you and Lily. I feel real. Kevin stepped closer, drawn by the honesty in her eyes. You are real, Hannah, the most real person I know. This time, when he leaned in to kiss her, there were no interruptions. Her lips were soft against his, her body fitting perfectly against him as she wrapped her arms around his neck. The kiss deepened, filled with all the feelings that had been building between them for weeks. When they finally pulled apart, both slightly breathless, Hannah's eyes were shining. I've been wanting to do that for a while, she admitted. Me too, Kevin confessed. But I wasn't sure if you'd be interested in someone like me. Hannah frowned. What does that mean? You know what I mean. You're a Summers CFO of a financial empire. I'm a construction worker raising a kid on my own. That's exactly why I'm interested, Hannah said firmly. You're authentic, Kevin. Everything about you is genuine. Do you know how rare that is in my world? Everyone wants something from me, my connections, my family name, my money. You fixed my door without even knowing who I was. Kevin couldn't help laughing. When you put it that way, it does sound romantic. They spent the rest of the evening walking and talking, stealing kisses like teenagers before eventually returning to their building. At Hannah's door, Kevin kissed her goodnight, both reluctant to end the evening but aware of the new territory they were entering. I should pick up Lily in the morning, Kevin said, his hands still resting on Hannah's waist. Bring her by for breakfast, Hannah suggested. I make excellent pancakes. Kevin raised an eyebrow skeptically. You cook pancakes? I have many hidden talents, she replied with a wink. You'll have to stick around to discover them all. The next few weeks were the happiest Kevin could remember in years. They fell into an easy rhythm, with Hannah often joining them for dinner or weekend outings. Lily was delighted by the arrangement, especially when Hannah taught her to make homemade cookies or helped with her more challenging homework. True to her word, Hannah arranged for Kevin to meet with her friend Paula, the gallery owner. To Kevin's surprise, Paula was genuinely impressed with the photos of his work and immediately commissioned 3 pieces: a console table, a jewelry box, and a decorative wall shelf for an upcoming exhibition of emerging artisans. This could be the beginning of something significant, Paula told him. Your work has a quality that's both modern and timeless. With the generous commission payment, Kevin was able to purchase better tools and quality materials. He worked on the pieces during evenings and weekends, often with Hannah keeping him company in the small workspace he'd set up in his living room. One evening, as he was sanding the console table, Hannah approached with a thoughtful expression. I've been meaning to talk to you about something. Kevin looked up, noting her serious tone. Everything okay? Yes, but... She hesitated. I need to go to New York next week. My father is hosting the annual Summers Foundation Gala and I'm expected to attend. Okay, Kevin said, trying to hide his disappointment at the thought of her being away. How long will you be gone? That's the thing, Hannah said, sitting beside him. I was hoping you and Lily might come with me. Kevin nearly dropped his sandpaper. To New York, to a gala, Hannah nodded. I know it's a lot to ask, and if it's too uncomfortable, I completely understand. But my family is a big part of my life, even with all our complications, and I want them to meet you both. Are you sure about this? Kevin asked, genuinely surprised. I don't exactly fit into high society events. That's why I need you there, Hannah said earnestly. You keep me grounded, plus it would mean a lot to me to have you by my side. She took his hand. And there's something else. Paula has a sister who owns a gallery in Soho. She'd like to meet you while we're there. Kevin was overwhelmed by the offer. I don't know, Hannah. That's your world, not mine. It doesn't have to be my world versus your world, she said softly. We could build our own together. The sincerity in her eyes made Kevin's reservations fade. Lily would need a fancy dress, he said, which they both knew was his way of saying yes. Hannah's face lit up. Leave everything to me. You just need to pack your bags and be ready for an adventure. A week later, Kevin found himself on a private jet, his first time flying anything but economy, with Lily bouncing excitedly in her seat beside him and Hannah calmly explaining the features of the aircraft, as if private air travel were the most normal thing in the world. Is this your airplane? Lily asked, eyes wide as she examined the luxurious interior. It belongs to the company, Hannah explained. But yes, I can use it when needed. Kevin shook his head in amazement. Just when he thought he understood the scope of Hannah's wealth, something new would emerge to remind him of the vast differences in their backgrounds. They arrived in New York late morning and were whisked by private car to a townhouse on the Upper East Side, Hannah's pied-à-terre. She explained casually, though it was larger and more elegant than any home Kevin had ever entered. "We'll stay here tonight," she said as a housekeeper took their bags. "The gala is tomorrow evening. Today I thought we could explore the city a bit." Lily mentioned she's never seen the Statue of Liberty. The next 24 hours were like a dream. They visited tourist sites, ate at a famous pizzeria Lily had seen on a TV show, and spent the evening watching a Broadway performance of Lily's favorite animated movie. Through it all, Hannah was relaxed and attentive, clearly enjoying showing them her city. The following day brought a shift in mood. Hannah grew quieter as they prepared for the gala, and Kevin sensed her anxiety building. "Are you okay?" he asked, finding her in the study staring out the window. "Just preparing my armor," she replied with a weak smile. "Summer's family events can be intense." "We don't have to go," Kevin offered. "We could order pizza and watch movies instead." Hannah's expression softened as she stepped toward him, straightening his already perfectly straight tie. "That's why I need you there. You remind me there's more to life than meeting Alexander Summers' expectations." "Your father's a tough critic, the toughest," she confirmed. "Nothing is ever quite good enough. Even when I was made CFO, his response was, 'Let's see if you can maintain our growth trend.'" Kevin kissed her forehead. "Well, I think you're extraordinary with or without growth trends." That evening, as their car approached the gleaming skyscraper that housed the Summers corporate headquarters, Kevin felt distinctly out of place despite his new tuxedo, Hannah's gift, tailored perfectly. Lily, however, was enchanted by her pale blue party dress and the princess evening Hannah had promised. The gala occupied the entire top floor of the building, an opulent space transformed into a glittering venue with crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, and a string quartet playing softly in the corner. Well-dressed attendees mingled, champagne glasses in hand, while uniformed staff circulated with trays of appetizers. "Hannah," a voice called as they entered. A tall, distinguished man with silver hair and Hannah's green eyes approached, flanked by an elegant woman in a designer gown. "We were beginning to wonder if you'd make it." "Hello, father," Hannah replied, accepting his formal kiss on her cheek. "Mother, may I introduce Kevin Nash and his daughter, Lily?" Alexander Summers assessed Kevin with a penetrating gaze that made him feel like a specimen under a microscope. "Mr. Nash, Hannah mentioned she was bringing guests. What is it that you do?" Before Kevin could respond, Hannah interjected. "Kevin is an extraordinarily talented custom furniture designer. His work is being featured in Paula Winter's gallery next month." Alexander's eyebrows rose slightly. "Paula has excellent taste. I look forward to seeing your work, Mr. Nash." Kevin detected a hint of skepticism in the older man's tone but maintained a polite smile. "Thank you, sir. Hannah has been very supportive of my craft." "I'm sure she has, Mrs. Summers commented, her gaze flicking between Kevin and Hannah. Hannah always did have a diverse range of interests. The conversation continued in this vein, superficially polite, but with undercurrents of judgment that made Kevin increasingly uncomfortable. He was relieved when Lily, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, tugged at Hannah's dress. "Hannah, is that ice shaped like a swan? Can we go see it?" Hannah smiled gratefully at the interruption. "Of course we can." "Excuse us," she said to her parents, leading Kevin and Lily away from the uncomfortable encounter. As the evening progressed, Kevin observed Hannah in this environment, poised, professional, moving effortlessly among New York's elite. She introduced Kevin to various business associates and friends, always emphasizing his artistry in a way that made him feel valued rather than out of place. Later, as the formal dinner portion of the evening began, they were seated at the head table with Hannah's parents and several important-looking individuals Kevin didn't recognize. Lily, growing tired, leaned against Kevin's arm. "She's a beautiful child, Mrs. Summers commented unexpectedly, her eyes on Lily. "She has your eyes." Thank you, Kevin replied, surprised by the genuine compliment. Do you have full custody? She asked directly. Mother, Hannah warned quietly. It's all right, Kevin assured Hannah before turning back to Mrs. Summers. Yes, I do. Her mother left when Lily was 2. She decided parenthood wasn't for her. Mrs. Summers studied him with newfound interest. Raising a child alone is no small feat, Mr. Nash. You seem to be doing an admirable job. The comment felt like a small victory, though Kevin wasn't sure exactly what battle he was fighting. After dinner, Alexander Summers took the stage to deliver a speech about the foundation's achievements and future goals. Kevin watched Hannah's face as her father spoke, her expression a careful mask, though he could sense her tension in the way she held her shoulders. The Summers name has always stood for excellence, Alexander was saying. For generations, we have maintained the highest standards in business and philanthropy. This tradition continues with the next generation, as my daughter Hannah has demonstrated through her leadership of our financial division. Hannah smiled politely at the acknowledgement, though Kevin noticed she was gripping her napkin tightly beneath the table. He reached over to cover her hand with his, and she gave him a grateful look. When the formal portions of the evening concluded, guests began to mingle again. Lily, now thoroughly exhausted, had fallen asleep in her chair. Kevin was contemplating whether they should leave when Alexander approached their table. Hannah, a word, he requested, gesturing toward a quieter corner of the room. Hannah hesitated, glancing at Kevin. I'll be right back, she promised, before following her father. Kevin couldn't hear their conversation, but the body language was clear. Alexander speaking intensely, Hannah's posture growing increasingly defensive. After several minutes, Hannah returned, her face flushed. We should go, she said quietly. Lily's exhausted. In the car back to the townhouse, Hannah was silent, staring out the window at the city lights. Lily slept peacefully between them, unaware of the tension. Do you want to talk about it? Kevin finally asked. Hannah sighed. My father expressed his concerns about our relationship. Let me guess, I'm not good enough for a Summers. Something like that, Hannah admitted. He suggested I was being impulsive and throwing away my potential by attaching myself to someone without proper background or prospects. Kevin felt a cold knot form in his stomach. Maybe he's right. Hannah turned to him, her expression fierce. He's not right. He's never been right about what would make me happy. She took his hand. I don't care about proper background. I care about who you are: a loving father, a talented artist, a man who sees me for me, not for my family name or bank account. And what did you tell him? Kevin asked. I told him that my personal life is my own, and that if he wants to maintain a relationship with me, he'll need to respect my choices. She smiled faintly. I also mentioned that your work will likely be worth a fortune someday, so he might want to commission a piece while prices are still reasonable. Kevin couldn't help laughing. You didn't. I absolutely did, Hannah confirmed, her smile widening. You should have seen his face. Back at the townhouse, they put Lily to bed in the guest room before retiring to the master bedroom. As they prepared for sleep, Kevin found himself thinking about the evening and what it revealed about Hannah's world. I'm sorry if tonight was uncomfortable, Hannah said, as if reading his thoughts. My family can be challenging. They want what's best for you, Kevin replied, sitting on the edge of the bed. I can't fault them for that. The problem is they think they know what's best for me better than I do. Hannah sat beside him, taking his hand. But I know what makes me happy, Kevin. You and Lily make me happy. Kevin looked into her eyes, seeing nothing but sincerity. This thing between us, it's serious for me, Hannah. I need you to know that. It's serious for me too, she said softly. More serious than anything I've ever felt. He kissed her then, pouring all his feelings into the embrace. When they finally broke apart, Hannah's eyes were shining. Stay with me tonight, she whispered. Kevin nodded, his heart full. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. The next morning, they were awakened by Lily bouncing onto the bed, excited about the promised visit to the toy store before their flight home. Hannah greeted her with a warm hug, her hair tousled from sleep, looking more beautiful to Kevin than she had even in her elegant gala attire. The remainder of their New York trip passed in a blur of sightseeing, shopping, and for Kevin, a productive meeting with Paula's sister at her Soho gallery. By the time they boarded the private jet for home, Kevin had commissions for 5 more pieces and a potential spot in an upcoming exhibition of American artisans. "See," Hannah said as they settled into their seats. "I told you they'd love your work." "I couldn't have done this without you," Kevin admitted. "You opened doors I didn't even know existed." Hannah shook her head. "All I did was make the introductions. Your talent did the rest." Back home, they fell into a new rhythm. Kevin continued his construction job while working on his commissions in the evenings. Hannah helped him set up a proper website for his woodworking business, complete with professional photographs of his pieces. Orders began to come in slowly at first, then steadily increasing as word spread about his craftsmanship. Hannah, meanwhile, continued her work for Summers Wealth Management remotely, though Kevin noticed she seemed increasingly frustrated with conference calls and virtual meetings. One evening, after Lily was asleep, Hannah arrived at Kevin's apartment with a bottle of wine and a serious expression. "We need to talk," she said, settling beside him on the couch. Kevin's heart sank, assuming the worst. "That sounds ominous." "Not in the way you're thinking," Hannah assured him, taking his hand. "It's about my job. I've decided to step back from the CFO position at Summers." "What, why?" Kevin asked, genuinely shocked. "I thought you loved your work." I do. But the remote arrangement isn't working as well as I'd hoped. My father is pressuring me to return to New York and She paused, meeting his eyes. "I don't want to leave here. I don't want to leave you and Lily." Kevin's heart raced. "What are you saying, Hannah?" "I'm saying I'm choosing us over the family business. I've decided to open a local branch of Summers Wealth Management here. Smaller scale, focused on helping small businesses and individuals with financial planning and investment." She squeezed his hand. "Including artists and craftspeople who need business support. Won't your father be furious?" Hannah smiled. "He's already furious, but he'll come around, especially when he sees that I'm happy and the new venture is successful." She leaned closer. "Which brings me to the second part of what I wanted to discuss. There's more. I've found a property on the edge of the Arts District. It's a beautiful old warehouse building with amazing natural light. The main floor would be perfect for the wealth management office, and the upper floor." She paused dramatically. "The upper floor would make an incredible woodworking studio and gallery space." Kevin stared at her, processing the implications. "Hannah, I can't afford. It would be an investment," she interrupted. "In us, in our future. We could build something together, Kevin. Your studio, my office, a place where both our talents can flourish." The offer was overwhelming. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll think about it," Hannah urged. "I'm not asking for an answer tonight. I just want you to consider the possibilities." Kevin nodded slowly. "I'll think about it." Over the next few weeks, Hannah showed Kevin the warehouse property, introduced him to an architect who specialized in adaptive reuse of industrial spaces, and outlined her vision for their complementary businesses sharing the building. The more Kevin saw, the more he could picture it: a spacious studio with proper ventilation and lighting, storage for materials, even a small showroom for finished pieces. But something held him back from fully embracing the plan. It wasn't until a conversation with Mike over lunch at the construction site that Kevin identified the source of his hesitation. "She wants to buy a building for you to use as a studio," Mike whistled. "That's serious commitment." "That's just it," Kevin said, realizing the truth as he spoke. "I want the commitment to be mutual, not one-sided. I don't want to be the guy who lives in Hannah's building, works in Hannah's studio. I want to be her partner, her equal." Mike studied him for a moment. "So what are you going to do about it?" That evening, after Lily was asleep, Kevin invited Hannah to join him on the small balcony of his apartment. The spring night was cool but pleasant, the city lights twinkling around them. "I've been thinking about your proposal," Kevin began. Hannah nodded, waiting patiently for him to continue. "The warehouse is perfect, exactly what both of us need for our businesses. But I can't let you buy it for me, Hannah." She started to protest, but he held up a hand to stop her. "Let me finish. I can't let you buy it for me, but I would consider us buying it together, as partners." Hannah's eyes widened in surprise. "How would that work? My commission pieces have been selling well. Between that and my savings, I can contribute about 30% of the down payment. It's not equal, I know, but it would be mine, something I've earned." We could structure the rest as a business loan that I pay back over time as my business grows. You've really thought this through, Hannah said, impressed. There's more, Kevin continued, suddenly nervous. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small wooden box one he'd crafted himself from cherry wood with inlaid maple details. This isn't just about business partnership for me, Hannah. He opened the box to reveal a ring elegant but not ostentatious, with a single diamond set in a band of white gold. I love you, Kevin said simply. I love the way you are with Lily. I love your brilliance and your kindness. I love how you see the potential in people. I even love how you drink ridiculously expensive coffee and can't figure out how to unclog a sink. He took a deep breath. I want to build a life with you not as Kevin living in Hannah's world or Hannah slumming in Kevin's world, but as true partners creating our own path together. Hannah's eyes filled with tears as she looked from the ring to his face. Are you asking? Hannah Summers, will you marry me? Will you be my wife, Lily's mother, my business partner, and my best friend for the rest of our lives? Yes, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Yes to all of it. She held out her trembling hand, and Kevin slipped the ring onto her finger before pulling her into a kiss that held all the promise of their future together. When they finally broke apart, Hannah rested her forehead against his. You know what's funny? I was planning to propose to you next week, Kevin laughed. Really, she confirmed. I even bought a ring. I was going to ask you at the warehouse after showing you the final architectural plans. Great minds think alike, Kevin said, kissing her again. There's still one thing we need to discuss, Hannah said, growing serious. Lily, we should talk to her about this, make sure she's comfortable with the changes. You're right, Kevin agreed, though I'm pretty sure she'll be thrilled. She's been dropping hints about wanting you to live with us permanently for weeks. The next morning, they sat Lily down for breakfast and explained their plans to get married and move into a new home where Kevin would have his workshop and Hannah would have her office. Does this mean Hannah will be my mom? Lily asked, her expression hopeful. Hannah looked to Kevin, who nodded encouragingly. If you'd like that, I would be honored to be your mom, Hannah said carefully. I love you very much, Lily. Lily's face lit up with joy. She jumped from her chair and threw her arms around Hannah's neck. I knew it. I told Daddy you were going to be my mom. I've been practicing writing Lily Nash Summers at school. Hannah hugged her tightly, tears in her eyes. Nash Summers, huh? I like the sound of that. Kevin watched the two most important people in his life embrace, his heart full to bursting. From the broken door that had brought them together to this moment of perfect wholeness, their journey had been unexpected but exactly right. In the months that followed, they purchased the warehouse and began renovations. Kevin and Lily moved into Hannah's larger apartment temporarily, while work was completed on the residential portion of the building, a spacious loft apartment above the business spaces, with a rooftop garden where Lily immediately began planning a fairy village. Kevin's woodworking business flourished as word spread about his craftsmanship. Hannah's local wealth management office opened with a client list that included several artists and small business owners alongside more traditional investors. They were married in a simple ceremony in the newly completed woodworking studio, with Lily proudly serving as both flower girl and ring bearer, and even Alexander and Deanna Summers in attendance, having gradually warmed to Kevin after seeing Hannah's happiness and success. 1 year to the day after Kevin had repaired Hannah's lock, they hosted an open house at the completed building now home to Nash Custom Woodworking and Summers Community Wealth Advisors. As guests mingled, admiring both the architecture and Kevin's displayed pieces, Hannah pulled him aside to a quiet corner. I have a surprise for you, she said, her eyes shining with happiness. Another one. You've already given me everything I could want, Kevin replied, glancing around at the thriving businesses and the family they had built. Hannah took his hand and placed it gently on her stomach. Not quite everything. Kevin's eyes widened as understanding dawned. You're pregnant. Hannah nodded, tears of joy spilling onto her cheeks. We're having a baby. Lily's going to be a big sister. Kevin pulled her into a gentle embrace, overwhelmed with emotion. I love you so much, he whispered against her hair. I love you too, Hannah replied. Who would have thought a broken door would lead to all this? I'm starting to think it wasn't just the door that needed fixing, Kevin said thoughtfully. Maybe we both needed repairing in different ways. Hannah smiled up at him. And now we're stronger where we were broken. As they rejoined the celebration, Kevin reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From a late-night break-in to this moment of complete happiness, their lives had been transformed in ways neither could have imagined. What began as a simple repair had built something far more precious: a family, a partnership, a love that would last a lifetime. And as Lily ran to them, her face alight with the joy of the present and the promise of the future, Kevin knew with absolute certainty that he had found his true home not in a building or a business, but in the hearts of the people who loved him.